Hey y'all, welcome to Art of the Budget. My name's Nicole, my pronouns are she and her, and I live in the Pacific Northwest on what is the traditional territory of the Coast Salish tribes. I'm an artist and educator, and I'm currently learning about budgeting, saving, and planning for retirement, and trying to share what I learned along the way. So today I wanted to talk about public service loan forgiveness. So first of all, what is public service loan forgiveness? I've got some notes over here. Basically, it's an initiative by the federal government to incentivize working in the public sector. In a nutshell, if you hold qualifying loans, work for a qualifying employer, and are enrolled in a qualifying repayment plan, 3 qualifications, then after 120 on-time payments, your balance, the balance of your loans will be forgiven. So the really cool thing about public service loan forgiveness over other types of forgiveness programs is that that balance that's forgiven, it is not taxed as income as it is in other forgiveness plans. Not that those other forgiveness plans wouldn't potentially be really worth it, but not having it taxed as income is an additional bonus, an additional benefit of public service loan forgiveness. Okay, so there are people who are really critical of this, which makes sense. It's a complicated program, and from what I've read and seen and heard, there have been a lot of people who've had trouble with it, and so understandably people are upset. So I have to tell you, I'm currently enrolled in the public service loan forgiveness plan. I'm a couple of years in. I'm about 3 years in, and people say years, but 120 payments, it actually works out to be about 10 years and 10 months, because every year you will recertify your income, and every time you do that, you actually lose that month. So you don't pay anything that month, but you also don't get credit for that payment. So you really only make 11 payments per year. So essentially it takes about 11 years. Not 10 years as you often hear. Okay, so first of all, of course, I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm just sharing with you what I've learned through the process of being enrolled in the program and just some facts about the program. These are all available on their website, studentaid.ed.gov. So all that information is there. I'm just breaking down some of it and the stuff that I found really useful. I am not at all suggesting that someone should do the public service loan forgiveness plan. This is going to be individual, and it's going to be based on your circumstances and your personal choices. So yeah, I'm just sharing what I've learned along the way, and I also put it out on Instagram and Facebook and asked if anyone had questions. So I have a few questions that I just Googled around for the answers. Again, most of this is available online. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the trifecta of qualification: qualifying loans, qualifying repayment plan, and qualifying employer. Basically, direct federal loans received after 2010 should qualify. Loans that you got before 2010, federal Perkins loans, and private loans do not qualify. Private loans will never qualify for the federal public service loan forgiveness program, but Perkins loans and federal loans that you got before 2010 may be able to be consolidated into one big loan that does qualify. Most likely you'll have to consolidate loans and sort of move into the fedloan.org program. That's who handles all of public service loan forgiveness. I believe that's who my provider is. If you have already made qualifying payments toward the 120 qualifying payments and then you consolidate, you will lose credit for those payments. So that's something to consider. You want to make sure that your loans qualify. If they don't all qualify, do enough of them qualify to make it worth it to do the program? Can you consolidate them? Is it worth consolidating, or do you have credit you would lose? Also, how many loans do you have? What is your total debt? Do the math. You want to make sure that you're not just like paying this amount for 10 years when you know, if you don't have a lot of loans and you're kind of getting it together, you know, making your budget, doing all that, you might be surprised at how quickly you can pay off. There's a cat right there. You might be surprised how quickly you can pay off several $1,000s of loans, even though it may feel really overwhelming. So obviously YouTube is a great place to see people on like low to moderate incomes paying off huge amounts of debt. So do the math. See if public service loan forgiveness would even be worth it. So you need to be on a income-driven repayment plan. So an income-driven repayment plan means that you're paying less per month than you would pay on the standard repayment plan. Of course, if you were paying the standard repayment plan, your loans would be paid off in 10 years. So for a lot of us, the reason that we need to be on an income-driven repayment plan is because we can't afford that monthly payment. So the idea is that you're paying less per month. Your loans won't be paid off after 10 years. And so if you make that 120 qualifying payments, that balance will be forgiven. Okay, so there are 4 income-based repayment plans. One is revised pay as you earn. One is pay as you earn, income-based repayment plan, and income contingent repayment plan. I don't really know what the difference is. I was on one, now I'm on another. But what I do know is that you need to recertify. You need to enroll in this plan and you need to recertify your income every single year. So every single year I have my HR person fill out a form and I submit it online. If you don't do that, you will not be enrolled and you will not be getting credit. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about qualifying employers. Okay, so you want to work for a qualifying employer, but you also want to certify that employer. So this is another thing that I do every year. You are not required to do this every year, but you're going to be recertifying your income, so you might as well recertify your employer. And on the Fed loan website, you'll actually see the number of payments go up and the number of payments left go down. And you do that every time you recertify your employer. So you don't have to do it every year. I've worked for the same school for 4 years. I could have just done it once, like I could do it next month, and I would get credit for all of those 4 years. But I like seeing that number go down every single year. So I'm gonna insert a photo of it real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to go into some of the questions that people had on Instagram and Facebook. Number 1, is this program something that can be canceled or cut while you're enrolled in it? They said a la Betsy DeVos style. Okay, so one of the best resources that I have seen for a public service loan forgiveness program is a video that Tasha and Joseph from One Big Happy Life put out. They are both attorneys, and so they're actually much more qualified to talk about this than I am, and they also are both enrolled in the public service loan forgiveness. I will link that video down below. But something that Tasha said in that video really meant a lot to me, and that's that when you took that loan, you signed a contract. Just like you would when you get a mortgage or when you take a loan for a car, you sign a contract. And that contract in this case is the master promissory note. Remember that thing that they made you do every year or whatever? I barely remember that. I was just like, where do I sign? Give me that money. I need some new underwear. I don't remember doing that. But when she said it, then I did remember. You know, you have to do that. Read through the website and sign off on the thing saying that you understand the terms. And some of those terms are the public service loan forgiveness. So what Tasha said is that they could change the program moving forward, but like me, I have my loans. I've signed that form, I've signed that contract, and the idea that they would go and try to change a contract that already exists is very unlikely. So I'll link that video down below. Go ahead and check that out. So yes, if you're in school right now and you're taking loans, when you took the loan, you signed the contract. So maybe go back and look at it, you know, if you're so inclined. I definitely did not look. But yeah, if you're in school right now, this program could change. If you are already enrolled and already paying back your loans, the idea that it would change so drastically that you wouldn't be able to take advantage of anymore seems unlikely. And that's what Tasha explained, and that was really extremely helpful to me. But check out their video down below. Okay, next question. What can I do now as a student taking out loans to ensure that they will be forgiven? Only take federal direct loans, and comfort yourself by reading the master promissory note and making sure that you understand everything that is outlined in that and understand your repayment options, one of which should be public service loan forgiveness. And keep an eye out on anything changing. Every single time you sign a master promissory note, read it. How many people actually successfully get their loans forgiven? I have no idea. I know as much as you do, and from the doom and gloom scary news I've seen, it's like 3% of those that applied, 99 people or whatever terrible thing, and that is really scary. Every single time that I see one of those newspaper articles or like Facebook articles or videos, I do try to read it and see, and it seems like the folks that were not granted forgiveness were not working for a qualifying employer, didn't certify it, were not enrolled in the correct payment plan, or didn't have the right kind of loans, and they thought they did. Now, did their loan provider tell them the wrong information? I mean, probably, for sure. I have to tell you, since I've been with Fed Loan, so it's been about 4 years now, I'm actually getting ready to recertify, so I should see the numbers go down by about 11 again in a couple months. But since I've been with Fed Loan, they've been really helpful. I've managed to always get really good people, and the whole process for me felt really clear. In fact, I have to say, like, it was pretty painless, the whole thing. And like I said, now I can go online and I can very clearly see those payments going down every year when I recertify my employment. Up until now, like all those years ahead of time, my coworker who told me about the program is 7 years in. Were people getting the wrong information? Yeah, probably. That's probably true. So that's why it's really important to know those three, the trifecta of qualification, as I'm calling it, because if you are not meeting one of those, you are not qualifying. So I don't know how many people have gotten their loans forgiven, but I do know that if you want your loans forgiven, you need to do those three qualifying things. And how is this all going to pan out? I have no idea. I'm hoping for the best. Okay, what kind of jobs qualify? So I pulled this off of the website. I work for a community college, and my coworker who told me about this works for a community college. Government organizations at any level, federal, state, local, or tribal, so those will all qualify. Not-for-profit organizations that are tax exempt under Section 501c3 of the IRS. And I actually looked to see if you start your own nonprofit, if you can qualify for student loan forgiveness. And I mean, that sounds terrifying and complicated, but I believe I found that the answer was yes. So worth looking into. Next on the list is other types of not-for-profit organizations that are not tax exempt under 501c3. If their primary purpose is to provide certain types of qualifying public services. And last, serving as a full-time AmeriCorps or Peace Corps volunteer also counts as qualifying employment. Okay, jobs that don't qualify on their list is labor unions, partisan political organizations, for-profit organizations, and this includes for-profit government contracts. So even if you work for the government, but your actual employer is contracted through the government, that wouldn't qualify. So I know my brother used to do something like that. Non-for-profit organizations that are not tax exempt under 501c3 and do not provide a qualifying public service as their primary function. For public service loan forgiveness, full-time is considered full-time as decided by your employer. So at my job, it's 40 hours. However, if you work for multiple organizations and you put together at least 30 hours, that would qualify as full-time. And you absolutely can work for different organizations as long as they all qualify and you certify all of them. It's, from what I understand, you can work for multiple organizations as long as you're working 30 hours and they all qualify and you certify them all. You should qualify. Okay, next question was what kind of loans qualify? I already kind of covered this, but basically William D. Ford Federal Direct Loan Program loans. And before 2010, you might have had a different type of loan that was also a federal loan, so you have to look into see whether or not they qualify. Private loans and Perkins loans do not qualify. Okay. Do you have to work for the same employer the whole time? No. Tasha talks about this and how she worked somewhere and then left public service and then went back. You can stop and start the program. It doesn't like erase your history if you like that. You wouldn't like lose that credit. It would just be on hold until you went back, if you went back to public service. And then you could recertify, enroll in the qualifying plan, and keep going as long as you have the right kind of loans. Okay. Can you qualify if you work for a private school? I looked into this because I'm applying for jobs at schools, and some of them are public and some of them are private, and the answer is yes, as long as the school is not for profit. So it might be a private school, but as long as it's not like a for-profit school, like, I don't know, Trump University or DeVry or something like that, you should qualify. Yeah, those are all the questions. I hope this video made sense. I know that probably I'm going to get a lot of hate mail. I just want to reiterate that this is just what I've learned along the way, personally being enrolled in the program. And like I said, it's not for everyone. You definitely want to do the math and make sure it's worth it. Make sure it's the right choice for you. I do think that it's a pretty awesome thing because at least, you know, there's, for attorneys, of course, it's important to incentivize them working in the public sector because they could make more money working outside of the public sector. But for educators, I mean, for me, I'm an art educator. There isn't really a private sector like money making thing. I mean, this is a job I do as a service, you know. It's something I'm passionate about and that I love, but it's definitely not like a huge money maker. So I think it's a pretty cool program. I don't know how it's all gonna flesh out, but I hope for the best. So yeah, thanks for joining. Let me know if you have any other questions or comments down below, and I will see you later.